So yesterday I broke down the first half of my metabolic meal method nutritional system. Now, of course, yesterday we covered the three things that we do less of, and today we're going to cover the three things that we need to do more of in order to ensure that we're eating in a way that's both going to reach health, but also going to move us towards our fat loss and body transformation goals. Now, one of the things I spoke about yesterday is many of us get confused because we focus too much on nutrition. Now, whilst the idea of nutrition is what underlies this system or this metabolic meal method, we ultimately then want to take that nutritional information that we have and then apply it to food. Because let's face it, we don't go to the supermarket to buy nutrition. We go there to buy foods, steak, potatoes, cucumber, etc., like all your different meats, fish, veg, fruit, herbs, spices, and so on. We go there to buy individual foods. We don't necessarily walk around the shop going, okay, well, where is my vitamin C and my vitamin D3 and my so on and so forth. So we're not looking for specific nutrients. Of course, we want them. We want the whole variety, because ultimately true health comes from a diverse diet that delivers up all the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, etc. that we need. But we get that by making conscious food choices that are going to help us reach our goals. So let's get into it and not waste any time. So if you missed yesterday and you're unsure of what the three things that we do less of are, I recommend you scroll down the feed and find my video from yesterday, and that will show you the first part. Now, as mentioned yesterday, you can either start with the stuff we covered yesterday, the three things we do less of, or you can start with what we're going to cover today, which are the three things that we need to do more of. Now, step number one. So the first thing that we need is to increase high quality protein. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Tyrone, you just said we don't talk about protein, fats, carbs, we talk about food, and we're about to. But ultimately what we're doing, can't spell high, look. Ultimately what we're doing when we approach this first step is making sure that we're getting adequate protein on board to make sure our body is healing properly, as in we're going to likely be training, exercising, moving more in order to try and reach our body transformation goals. And we want to make sure we have enough protein on board to allow the body to heal. Not only that, we want to maintain as much muscle mass as possible whilst we're on reduced calorie intakes and so on, and moving more, because we don't want to sacrifice muscle, because we need to keep our metabolism high. And the more muscle mass we can maintain and the greater strength we can gain, the higher our metabolism will be, and therefore the more fat that we will burn at rest. So increase in high quality protein. Now, what do we mean by that? So what we mean is, ideally, we need to bring in more high quality meats, fish, eggs. If you can tolerate them, you can have nuts, seeds, legumes, that sort of thing. They're all higher in protein. You can use protein shakes, but you want to make sure you've got high quality ones. I've done a couple of videos on that before, if you want to look those up. But when I say, so as in like protein shakes and supplements and things like that can be used, but you want real high quality stuff because there's a lot of junk out there. So we need to increase protein, because that overall is going to make sure that our body heals properly and keeps our metabolism high, as well as regulating satiety, blood sugar, cravings, and things like that as well. So it's absolutely key. That's the first thing we want to do more of when we're trying to improve on our diet. Now, step two, we need to increase our intake of fibrous veg. So yesterday we spoke about starchy carbs, which includes our starchy vegetables, as in our below ground root vegetables and things like that, which generally speaking for many of us, we need to cut back a bit. We don't necessarily need to eliminate, and we're not looking to eliminate, but we do need to cut those back. The flip side, however, is when it comes to our fibrous veg, which tends to be all of our above ground veg, we want to increase that. Many of us don't get anywhere near enough. For the average person that I see when they first come to me, it's lucky if they're consuming vegetables in one meal per day. We ideally want veg to be consumed in all three main meals, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we want the majority of our veg to be of the fibrous kind. Now, of course, different tolerances between different individuals will dictate how much you need overall. Some people get away with and need a lot more than others and so on. That's just normal, and you'll find out based on what your body tells you once you start trying to increase it. But where with the protein, on average, we're looking for around 2 palm-sized portions. With the veg, we're looking for 2 to 3 fist-sized portions. So that is meant to be an F there. So 2 to 3 fist-sized portions. So this is per main meal. So like yesterday we spoke about, with the starchy carbs, we maybe want 1, maybe 2 cupped handfuls. We're now continuing with that theme of the hand size guide. Now we're talking 2 palms of protein per main meal. So that's the size and the thickness of the palm. And with regards to our fibrous veg, we're looking at 2 to 3 fist-sized portions. Or if you don't want to measure against your fist, use a cup. So a standard sort of teacup, that type of size portion, 2 to 3 per main meal. This will ensure that we're not only getting high nutrition and vitamins, minerals, etc. from our protein, but we'll also be getting the vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, etc. that are available from plant foods that we can't necessarily get from meat and animal foods and so on, which tend to comprise most of our proteins. We ideally would like to get from animal food. So those are the first 2. Now, step 3, hopefully you can see this. I've just noticed I've taken up a lot of space on my board. Let me clear this. So just remember your veg is 2 to 3 fist-sized portions. And then our final one, number 3, is we want to increase our intake of healthy fats. Now, you probably guessed that already. Now, when it comes to healthy fats, like yesterday, we said, well, we want to remove trans fats because those are bad, and we want to completely reduce or even eliminate, if you can, polyunsaturated fats, which are things like vegetable oils. So sunflower oil, canola oil, soy oil, and things like that. Yes, they're sold as the heart-healthy option, but I can assure you they're not. They're very delicate, don't tolerate heat or light. So whenever you cook with them, they actually become damaged and then cause inflammation in the body. Healthy fats, on the other hand, that are going to actually improve our health over time, we're talking predominantly about saturated fats. These are the fats that we evolved on, and every single cell in the body needs saturated fat in order to remain healthy and to provide the hormones, etc., that are needed, and the building blocks for the various hormones and so on that we need in order to rebuild the body and to maintain health. So what we're talking here is eating like how your grandparents' parents ate. So things like lard, dripping, tallow. You can use coconut oil is also a very good alternative. Just ideally make sure it's extra virgin coconut oil and ideally organic where possible. Now, on that topic of organic, in an ideal world, all of this will be organic. Now, if I just turn my screen down here. So ideally, all of this will be organic. And don't worry if you can't go all organic, then you just do the best you can with what you have access to. So where possible, so we're saying high quality protein, we'll just buy the best your budget will allow. Same with regards to your veg and your healthy fats. Particularly with the healthy fats, we want them to be of a high quality source, especially if they're animal fats, because all animals, including humans, we store toxins in fat in order to keep it out of the nervous system and the tissues, so such as the organs and so on. So what we want to do if we're using fats and cooking with animal fats and so on, again, where possible, try to get them in the highest possible form and ideally organic. If not, free range and so on is a good alternative, outdoor bread and things like that. So healthy fats. Yes, you can use nuts and things as well. And on average, where we were saying 2 palms here, 2 to 3 fist-sized portions here, when it comes to our healthy fats, we're talking about 1 to 2 thumb-sized portions per main meal. Now, if we're talking oils, you maybe can't measure that out in relation to the size of your thumb. So instead, that would be 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons per main meal if you're using an oil. For example, extra virgin olive oil on your salad and things like that, that's absolutely fine. But predominantly, particularly if you're doing high temperature cooking, as I mentioned, we want the heavier fats, duck fat, goose fat, lard, tallow, coconut oil, and so on. If we're doing low temperature baking, then you can get away with things like extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil and so on. Some of the peanut oils and things, sorry, not peanut oil, some of the nut oils and things can also be used for low temperature baking. But still, as I mentioned earlier, where possible, avoid or at least significantly reduce your intake of the processed fats, such as your vegetable oils and so on, because they're just too delicate for any type of cooking. So like anything, if it's an occasional thing, it's not that big a deal. It's when it becomes our normal everyday habit and standard way of operating that it becomes a problem over time. Because as I'm sure you've realized, maybe without even realizing, the effects of nutrition are accumulative. So it's not like, oh, I had a McDonald's one day, then I all of a sudden had cancer. It's that buildup of eating processed food over an extended period of time that leads to breakdown of tissues and degeneration within the body. And then eventually we end up with metabolic conditions, disease, illness, and so on. And of course, health is exactly the same. So if we're already now moved away from health, well, in order to get there, it's not a case of, well, one healthy meal got me better. It's a case of eating well and eating healthy over an extended period that will then produce the health that we need and obviously build and transform us into the body and the person that we want and need to be. So that doesn't mean it's a slow process, just means it doesn't happen overnight, and it does take some level of consistency. Now, with regards to the metabolic meal method, we're looking to ideally be somewhere in the 80 to 90% effective, meaning like the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time you eat well, 20% of the time you might allow yourself to eat off plan. If you feel like your health is maybe a bit lower than the average, then, and you know you've got some things going on, then you might want to push that up to maybe a 90-10. But the key is working at a level that you can remain consistent with it and, of course, get results. So you're trying to find that happy medium with yourself where you're not feeling like you're sacrificing too much and you don't feel like you're having to over focus and over stress and strain about it. So it's easy enough for you to maintain, but also at a level that's high enough to actually get you the result. Because the catch you'll have is, even though you will be eating better, if it's not enough to get you the results that you want, you won't stick to the plan anyway. You'll feel like, well, this is pointless. I'm not looking or feeling any better than I was when I was eating the junk food all the time. So we at least need to take ourselves to a level where we're beyond where we currently are so that we can obviously get results. Now, that doesn't mean being perfect, like I say. It just means making sure that we're doing better than we have been and doing it for an extended period so that we can start to accumulate results over time. Now, just one recap, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So remember, on the less of list that we spoke about yesterday, we spoke about getting rid of or at least significantly reducing processed foods and bad fats. We also spoke about the need to slow down and listen, meaning ideally we take 20 minutes per main meal in order to finish it, a minimum of 20 minutes. Plus, we learn how to listen to our body and identify when we are 80% full, and we stop there. The third piece in the less of is to reduce our intake of starchy carbs. Not because carbs are bad, just because generally if we consume too many of them, it's going to be much harder to meet our aesthetic goals and get the fat burning results that we want. Then, as we just spoke about today, we go into the more of list and we're talking about, okay, well, I need 2 palms of high quality protein per main meal. I want 2 to 3 fist-sized portions of my fibrous veg. And I want 1 to 2 thumb-sized portions or tablespoon-sized portions of my healthy fats. And then that way you will have an ideal meal set up. And of course, over time, based on the results that you're getting, how your body's feeling, how it's transforming, you can then tweak these recommendations, the 2 palms, the 2 to 3 fists, etc. We tweak them up or down in order to meet the specific goals that we have and make sure that we've still got lots of energy, still feeling good, and we're not not too low under our calorie requirements, or of course too far above them where we're not losing weight and in fact could be gaining weight and so on. So as always, guys, like I keep telling you, drop your questions below if you have any. And if not, thanks for sticking with us. And I look forward to chatting with you in my next video. Take it easy, people, and I shall chat to you soon.